Let's talk about one more light. It's called environment. If I move on to the light mix, let's note that we have environment here. What is that light? If I turn it on or off, I can see that the background turns off, but I don't see much change in the interior lighting itself. However, if I turn off all the lights other than environment, we can see that it's a blue light. It's a default light which we can turn on or turn off. I can turn it off in two ways, by using a light mix here, or turning off the environment light in the asset editor. In the render settings, I can deselect the background. And now the environment light will no longer be present in the scene. Let's render. I can notice that I have no background or blue light. What to do with the background? There are many ways to deal with the background. We can create a background behind the window using a new light, dome light. I can light the scene using sunlight plus additional rectangle lights, but I can also use external light called dome light, which is a very interesting way to illuminate the interior. We need to get to know it. Let's move on to SketchUp. The dome light icon is on the top bar in this place. All I have to do is click on it and set it anywhere in the scene. It can be inside or outside the room. It doesn't really matter. I will place it somewhere in the interior. I go to the Asset Editor, Lighting tab, and we can see that there is a new light called Dome Light. Moving on to the light settings, I can see that there is a texture slot next to Color, Texture, HDR. If I click on the square, I can see that the light has been loaded. However, it's a very basic light, and it's good to replace this light with a much better lighting. Let's go back, and I click on the left arrow. It's time to get to know a very interesting site with HDRI lights. The Polyheaven is a site with free lights, textures, and models. I'm interested in the HDRI lights, so I move on to this category. And I can see that there are a lot of lights here. What are HDRI maps? These are maps with surrounding, for example, trees, grass, buildings, sky, or sun. If we import this map into a dome light, the light from HDRI maps will pass through the window into our scene. It will be a very natural and realistic light. Let's choose one of these lights. I will sort the lights from the top. And let's move on to the first light. It's Alps field. I put this light into my scene and I need to download it first. I choose 4K resolution. The file will be about 25 megabytes and I can download it. The Alps field file is in the folder. I can upload it to my project. Let's go back to SketchUp, to Asset Editor, and now with the dome light where we have the HDRI texture, color, I upload my map from the folder. I choose the file and open it. It's done. I can go back to the previous panel and notice that the appearance of the sphere has changed. I have to change the settings of the dome light. First of all, I will change the shape from hemisphere to sphere. Another important thing is to change the intensity. 1 is definitely too small value for a dome light. It's a good idea to start with the intensity of 100, and then we can decide if we want to increase or decrease this value. Let's render the scene. The visualization has been created, and we can see that there is a new light outside the window. Let's go to the light mix and see how we illuminate the scene with dome light. If I turn off sunlight, we can see that the scene is not so yellow anymore. It's more gray or blue. I can also reduce the intensity of a rectangle light. Here I can decide how I want the scene to be lit. For now, I'll leave a rectangle light next to the window and behind the camera. I think that they are needed in the scene. Let's look at the view outside the window. So far it's not very interesting. Its setting is quite random, but I can change it. Let's move on to the Asset Editor. I go to the dome light and then click on the blue square, which is a texture slot. Here I can set how the HDRI light should be placed in the scene. I go to the texture placement. Here I can set the texture position. And here at rotate H, which means horizontal rotation, I can change the value and rotate the map. Let's change these settings to around 70 or 80. And let's see what it looks like now. HDRI map has changed. Now I have a different view. I can see that there is a road a little further, then buildings and trees. I can change the height of this map because I don't want to have a lot of grass in the background. Therefore, I will go to the Asset Editor again, go to the 2D Transformation tab, and to Offset UV. Here, at the second position from the left, I can type a slightly higher value, for example 0.08. The map is lower, and thanks to that, our building will be a little higher. I will set this value to 0.04. I've checked it before, and I know that this value will suit our scene. We should check for ourselves which option is best for us. The map has been changed, and we don't have such a large area of grass anymore. It looks much better. Let's see the final result of lighting in the interior. I have a bright scene, there is an interesting background outside the window. I will also place transparent curtains here, which will make the scene even more interesting. I have a dome light and rectangle lights. Thanks to this, the interior scene looks really interesting. Now I can move on to a very important part of the course, which is materials.